Hey, hi, hello, happy Halloween, and welcome back to the Big Go Belt channel. It is Gravity, and today Nigeria and I are back to talk about this film that we've been trying to track down since the summer season. And it's doing its rounds. It certainly is, but it is such a popular film that honestly it's hard to get into these screenings because everyone's trying to be where the money is. But right now we're talking about Suitable Flesh. We are going full Lovecraftian with this one. I do believe it's based off a short story by H.P. Lovecraft called The Thing on the Doorstep. This film first made its first debut at Tribeca Film Festival in June. Since we've been trying to track this thing down, but now it's available on October 27th, that's today, in select theaters and on VOD. And a little birdie told me that it'll creep over to Shudder sometime in January. I don't know if you could wait that long, but it's available on your home screens in select theaters right now. Give us a little synopsis. What's this film about, Najir?
All right, so I'm just going to be a little ignorant with this one, but the short way I put this is Lifetime presents a Shudder original, Suitable Flesh, where a lady leaves her husband to sleep with her younger possessed client. Am I missing something here?
Uh, you You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You actually almost threw me out this chair with the Lifetime shtick. Damn, I can't unsee it now. I
No,
can't unsee it.
no, truly, and I'll obviously will explain so much more about that statement. But truly, Elizabeth Derby, she's a psychiatrist, and she has a patient that kind of just drops on her doorstep, and she finds them to be a very unique, but yet a moment for opportunity for him to be a case study that truly can benefit her, but also into the study of schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder. So like she figures like, hey, I get this person, I waiver my fee. If I could connect with this person, I could kind of understand what's happening because some things kind of happen pretty quickly within her office. She says, oh, here's an opportunity for me. But it is on Shudder, or soon to be on Shudder, and it is spooky season. So what could go wrong is obviously the big wrench that we're waiting for here. Well, yes, because not only is he going through different trances, shall I say, but there is definitely something very demonic about this guy. Something very horny about him too. But she's going to find out, and again, it goes from a case of curiosity of thinking like, hey, potentially I can help this younger patient Asha, but only to find out that like there's definitely something very dark, supernatural about him, and yeah, she's gonna go on a ride with it. So yeah.
Yup. Damn, I can't stop thinking about the Lifetime comment. And you know what? It doesn't help that like everyone in this film is hot. Which places another level of horniness onto this film. But it is on brand, right? It is on brand for possessions and the devil. We all seen The Exorcist and the foul, horny stuff that comes out of Reagan's mouth. So sure, it is a little bit on brand. I'm not an H.P. Lovecraft girl. I love Lovecraftian things, but I'm not very versed in his stories himself or his short stories. I'm brown. But anyway, this one was a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around at first. I don't know if that's at the fault of the short story or the screenplay, how it was adapted. Basically, what we have on our hands here is a body hopping hootenanny, I guess that's what I would call it. But the devil does whatever it is that he is woke up feeling like that morning. And on this glorious morning, it is catching bodies in more ways than one. And that seems like to me a theme that we could have a lot of fun with. But I do think that I was a little bit caught up on the screenplay, the pacing of everything. We do have some really great moments in here, but I think it could have been a little bit tighter. I don't want to say snoozy because we definitely have our highs, we definitely have our lows, but the spaces in between them for me were a little bit wide. But the premise is very cool. I also want to just mention that our patient, who was like our original, I guess we'll call him patient zero or body number zero, is played by Judah Lewis. Asa is played by Judah Lewis. And the whole time I'm trying to think, where do I know this guy from? I have no idea. I just Googled his name, and it turns out he's the kid from The Babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not going to guess that, because one thing that I will praise very, very, very highly is his performance. That's a scary dude. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's the bone structure. I don't know. He just like has spent a lot of time in the mirror adjusting his eyebrows in a way that will make you very uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
he, although he's young and he is cute, does a really great job of flipping the switch and turning himself into this menacing character. And because he does that so well, in the bounds of the screenplay, our psychiatrist and her peers, they can't figure out this phenomenon, or maybe they think that they can in the beginning. Maybe it's easily diagnosable, but the phenomenon of switching back and forth to, you know, literally different
Yeah.
personalities or different people or different entities, even, does definitely give our protagonist a hard time until what is, in my opinion, a little bit too late in the film. But at least we do get there, and when we get there, it is a struggle.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, we covered Tribeca, and this is one that slipped between our fingers. So it's been on our radar for a while. And I had not heard bad, I had not heard good. But it was promoted very heavily, obviously, through the horror channel. So we knew at some point we wanted to check it out. I am a little disappointed because I felt like I was truly watching a Lifetime memoir or whatever it may be. It felt very heavy on the drama at times,
Mhm.
and the production felt very much on the same scale of just very drama heavy. When you talk about the psychiatrist here, now one we can spend this entire review just profiling her, because Elizabeth clearly wasn't happy at home. She has the attractive husband. The husband support her. All at home seems well, but she just seems to be a shell of a body in bed, where we see a quick scene of her just kind of just laying there. But she's so dedicated in her job. She clearly has good clientele. People trust her. She gets a new client. She instantly thinks about the elevation of her career, which also could be said another trait about her as well too. It's the young, hot client that kind of walks into her office, presents an opportunity in multiple ways for her, and she pursues it. I mean, tell me if you had not heard something like this on Lifetime. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and then the production truly caters towards that. Now, again, not a knock on Heather, because I thought Heather, especially in the third act, really cut it on to really
Yes.
deliver the elements of it being a horror film. At times, it felt mildly comedic without any jokes that landed. Just you could tell they were loading up for a joke, and it just fizzled. But the drama was the drama, and it was messy at times. He's like, "Oh, this is definitely messy," but like the things we talk about, like, okay, well, when did you get an indication that was a horror? Because this person is being quickly labeled as either having multiple personality disorder or schizophrenia. You see these body disjointment and a trance, and then an entirely different personality. You are entirely right. When you talk about a solid performance across the board, Judah carried it, because at one point Judah looks like like a lost sheep just stumbled into an office, and then the on and off switch, I'm sorry, but it gave me Hayden Christensen from Star Wars when he slowly
Mm.
became Anakin to Vader, and you saw the transformation. I saw that there was a side of, obviously, everybody like Anakin, this young boy that they love over the years, and he was such a lovable person. He was attractive, and then when he started to turn evil, you were just like, wow, all that kind of really quickly went away. He's menacing. He's definitely going to become Vader. Obviously, you know how Star Wars release is, so you knew he was going to become Vader. But if you didn't know he was going to become Vader, you're like, oh, he's definitely about to become a problem. I got the
Mhm.
same thing with this character. I thought he really, really turned that switch in terms of like, here's my light side, here's my dark side. And his dark side was definitely accompanied by horniness, which on that note, I'm like, well, we're right back to Lifetime, because he's like, listen, I'm
Yeah.
about to come in there, do what I got to do. and she's just like, I'm not being satisfied. She didn't really say this, but basically it's like, I'm not being satisfied at home. Come do what you're going to do. This not only satisfies me for what's happening at home, but it also gives me an opportunity to create a bond to use this young boy in order to get what I want. Forget all my job integrity and morals, throw that out the window. Here's an opportunity for me to be among the elites if I'm able to study somebody who has an extreme case of multiple persons disorder. So again, it's super TV drama heavy. The production's really much behind that. I thought the title was very good. It totally works. And then when you get to the third act, it drags for me. I started to, I mean, we're introduced to another psychiatrist who happens to be Elizabeth's friends and Daniela, played by Barbara Compton. And I feel like it's an amazing casting here. It just felt like two different stories happening at once. She comes in and she's almost like the savior, the hero to everything. And it's like, well, where did you come from? So to say. And like, I don't know. It's just something about the third act really didn't connect with everything that was kind of building in the beginning. And there's a part of it that just overly drags for me. And I just was just kind of just wondering, like, how are we going to bring this all together in a tight knit that just satisfies both of the different parts of this film? The first act, very drama heavy. The second act is cleaning up all of the demonic and the discovery of all the demonic stuff. But you're like, well, if you're cleaning up something, well, it had to be something I initiated in the beginning. The feeling from the two is not like there's really no consistency between those two feelings. I'm very much invested into her sleazy lifestyle. And then the second end, you're definitely like in the betterment of like, are we going to get this demon out of here or what? What's it going to take to get this demon out of here that's jumping from body to body to body? And what's the motivation behind the demon? What's going to be the resolve with the demon? Then also it just, yeah, I don't know, man. That's just, I just felt I had a hard time with the progression of what I felt like was two different stories kind of like jumbo into one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I also feel I do have a little bit of gripe with the editing. I have definitely seen worse editing this year. I don't want to say it's bad by any means, but it didn't help. Maybe that could have helped merge the two kind of different movies that we have going on from, the first half and the second half. But I think the editing also kind of left me a little bit confused at times. And, not too important to the progression of the story, so I still was able to hang on. But, editing is a really important aspect of movie making in general. It can make
1,000%.
translation a lot easier for your
Yep.
audience. It could, say things that are never actually said. And I just don't think that tool was really used really at all in this film. I think by the end, it was a little bit easier to digest just because I had already been sitting there for an hour. So I do have a general idea of what it is that's going on. But before you figure out the ins and outs of this situation, is it just a single possession, the body hopping,
The
what it
seizures, so
is
we
that
just throw there too, because that's
the
like the indication
seizures.
for the viewers that something is happening. I thought that was portrayed good. And I'll just be honest, in an unsensitive way, because I'm not really sure how do you really depict what a seizure is authentically, shall I say? But they label it as a seizure, and you're like, all right, well, something's definitely happening because this person's like grunting, blah, 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 blah. Where have I been? Type of thing. So, but like that's sort of like the vehicle in terms of how the viewers know something, the transference from body to body to body to determine what's the suitable flesh. See what I did?
Yeah. Okay. I was kind of looking for also like a title drop, like
They
with
got
a
they got close. They got close, but they didn't. Yes.
it was like suitable something, but it wasn't suitable flesh. But with a title that is that hard, like that's a hard title, suitable
1,000%.
flesh. I was waiting for the moment and I never got it.
Yeah.
I was looking for it. I was searching for it. One, because I think I was a little bit trapped in the marketing of all of it. The cover art is amazing.
Yeah.
The
Very 80s or
It's very
70s.
80s. It's
Yeah.
very classic Lovecraftian film
Mhm.
adaptation. And how we used to do it back in the day, there was the mic drop. And I
Yeah.
never got the mic drop, and that did
You're
disappoint
right.
me just
Right.
a little bit. I was waiting for it. That's the moment when you're sitting in the audience and everyone starts clapping because there it is. And
Yeah.
I don't, and even on the subject of a there it is moment, I don't think we really had one at all. There was one specific moment that was very graphic, which I won't give it away, but if you subscribe to Fangoria, you might have seen it on your doorstep about 2 months ago. But that was fun. But after that one super climactic moment happens, we don't really see ourselves matching that energy, you know?
I I need you to be a little bit more detailed with that. I mean, we could talk a very, very mild spoilers, but I'm trying to figure out exactly what scene it is. I think there's one I'm
Okay.
thinking, but I'm not totally sure. But if they're already talking about that, I'm definitely curious.
Okay, well, here's your warning. You can cover your ears right now, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. There's a beheading. There's a beheading, and it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool, but I almost feel as if they threw that beheading in there to keep my attention and then slowly backed away and relied heavily on the characters, which were not super
Yeah,
driven to the story for me, and of course the editing wasn't helping much either.
yeah,
They also did this weird technique on, I'm not exactly sure what it was supposed to portray, but in high intensity moments the camera starts doing backflips, like backflips upon backflips upon backflips. And not to be like the old granny in the theater, but I'm dizzy. And what does this
dude.
mean? Because the seizures already told me something. The seizures mean something, and I understand what that means now. We're going through a transformation. We're going from body number 1 to body number 6, or whatever it might be. What's the significance of the spinning? Is it just to disorient me? That seems like something that could totally fit in any other Lovecraft type story. The you know goopy, disoriented. I don't know where I am. But the story is very much based in reality, so I don't really understand what the significance of that was in
Yeah.
post. But it also happened maybe like 3 or 4 times, so I was able to let it go. I just let it go after a while. Yeah, and then by that time we made it to the 3rd act. Barbara Crampton is just a gem. She really
Mhm,
is, and
mhm,
her
mhm.
performance was amazing, but unfortunately, I think all the performances were great.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't think it was enough to save the dreariness that was, the progression of this movie. And she's not
yeah,
even that long of a movie. She's well under 2 hours. So,
yeah,
that is a very common excuse that, it could have been shorter, it could have been
yeah,
shorter. I think it had something to do with the editing, maybe a little bit of the screenplay, but the casting was definitely on point. Maybe a little bit more intense moments, like going back to that beheading was super cool. I don't think we were ever able to match that.
yeah.
And I guess it just left me wanting something more. And I was just getting more Lifetime and more sex scenes.
No, and honestly, my last comment is this: that like once we start to get introduced in terms of how the transference of this possession is happening, I started to think really deep. Again, patient A, Asa, comes in, and when you hear about the backstory, it starts to really bring you into what this kid past trauma may have endured in terms of how he even became possessed. And you learn
Mhm.
about his father, and then we know that the father sort of makes a presence in the scene. But you start to think about, well, what did this kid deal with previously?
Mhm.
That's the story. I think by the end of this, I became more intrigued with is what happened before we got here,
Mhm.
more or less. Because once we get to the psychologist's office, it's just again, it's so drama heavy that I didn't sign up for that. And if it is supposed to be a drama horror, then it's way heavy on the drama, less on the horror. the marketing is just not done in the way it is. I mean, you could do a drama and be surprised by some of the things that happen, but they as you mentioned, everything about the promotion of this screams, a horror film all the way. They spent way too much time on the drama, way too much time on the messiness, getting your hopes up high for certain things, never to really reach that level of shall we say brutality at this point.
Mhm.
So it's just the pacing. It's really just a pacing. And my last thing is that, like, I don't think it's a bad film. It
No.
just didn't execute at the highest capacity that it could. There's definitely little things that could have just been better. And totally one being the pacing, the pacing
Mhm.
and the balancing of the story. Let's we understand that she has troubles at home and she has like an obsession with this case study, and the possession has a way of what it's doing. Let's focus more on the possession. Let's focus more on establishing all of our characters here, so that when you get to the end and all the players are at hand, we understand where everybody's kind of coming from. Hell, I mean, and even at the end, I mean, you could really quickly talk about the end. I mean, there's obviously still more to be told, still more story to be told here. Where does the possession lay now? And who's the possession next victim? The poor innocent husband at home has just been a bystander of all of the shenanigans happening around him. Which is an easy role for him because he's just in denial the entire time. And even
Mhm.
when he does discover that there's something up with his wife, she's coming off very uncharacteristic. He reaped the benefit of it, but still is not aware that there's absolutely something very menacing around him. I mean, like the knife play, which I'll just quickly mention, is definitely giving me Britney Spears, but people still love Britney, okay?
You talk about that video that she posted, she's dancing.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
people still love
god.
her. They didn't cancel her. They still love her. So, like, the poor husband had no clue what was happening in front of him. He's just like, oh, yeah, she watched that Britney Spears TikTok. She's doing her thing. But I just really, I think there's just like, this film definitely was very C pluses for me. Totally worth a watch. But definitely could have been better in some departments.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think it's a bad film by any means. I don't know how exactly I'm supposed to adjust my expectations, like, when I get excited over a film. I don't know how to physically lower them, but I was super excited to watch this one, and I guess it just did not meet my expectations. A little heavy on the cheese, a little, light on the use of editing. Performances were definitely all there, but I also do encourage you all to watch it yourselves and form your own opinion, because hey, Nigeria and I could just be tripping. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that only leaves folks one thing to do now, and that is to go out and check it out, because Suitable Flesh is in theaters and on demand and digital today, October 27th. And then keep an eye out for it, because Shudder will be claiming this one sometime very early next year. But get in the comments, let us know your thoughts about this, the things you liked, the things you didn't like. And as always, we'll be back with more reviews very soon. Thank y'all for watching, folks.